Hi, welcome back. I'm Jason. Today I'm going to be looking at historical miniatures for Mordheim. And I'm mainly going to focus on plastic miniatures, and we're going to go around the old world and see what is available you could use for things like Araby, Nippon, Cafe, and as well as things like the actual literal old world replacements, because back in the day when I first started playing Mordheim, GW had a great little box set for kit bashing, which was called the Free Company, and this allowed you to make a whole bunch of different types of let's say henchmen mainly. So you had your melee options and your shooting and sort of archers, crossbows, and black powder weapons. But that box has disappeared. They no longer produce it. So I'm just going to look at some of the plastic options that are available within historical that you can use for kit bashing great miniatures, and look at which ones we could use for different areas. So we could probably put together kit bash a warband from, say, Cafe and Nippon, or we could kit bash a warband from Araby. So yeah, so let's go on and have a look around and see what's available and what we can do. So we're going to look at some alternative miniatures from the historical market that could be used in Mordheim. I'm basically going to go around the world and at various points point out what miniatures are available for building a warband from that particular area. So we're going to start down here. I'm going to look at Nippon and Cafe options to begin with. So Warlord games do a samurai in plastic, so those are a great option for Nippon. So we just look into Warlord, and as you see, we've got samurai warriors. These can be used as your sort of hero leader miniatures. They generally will have options such as sword and spear. And you won't get much else in weapon options with the samurai. These were noble class, so they fought with effectively two-handed weapons. So for our henchmen, or bog standard individuals in the warband, you've got a couple of options. You've got the spearman, sort of spear that's probably on the same sort of lengthwise as a Greek hoplite or pike from English Civil War. I mean, they're fairly large weapons. I'll bring this up, look. So I'm not 100% sure how practical that would be in fighting in amongst the streets of Mordheim, but that's the options that you get. I mean, you could cut those down to a more sensible length if you wanted to. The other option you have is the missile troops. The missile troops, you get basically two options here. You have the traditional archer with the bow. He's armed with the distinctive bow, the unique to Japan. And the other option is black powder weapons. You will only get muskets. You won't get pistols with these guys, so you need to bear that in mind. You won't have pistol options, you'll just have musket. Now, for anyone wanting to sort of take their
games out into the wilderness and use the options for introducing cavalry, then they do have samurai swordsmen. So your heroes and leaders could be mounted. So let's bring those up. And so yeah, you've got a few options there as well. You can have them armoured or semi-armoured, but armed with either sort of a polearm weapon or archers with the bow. Those are pretty much your options for fielding a Nippon warband. And you get plenty of miniatures in each of those boxes. I mean, about 20 in each of the sort of infantry boxes, and I think it's 12 cavalry in the samurai horseman box. So if we go back to our map, the next one I'm going to is Cathay and the Jade Empire. Now you're pretty limited in the fact that there is only pretty much one option at the moment, and that is the Chinese boxers from Wargames Atlantic. Whilst these do have quite a few options on them for weapon wise, you're probably not going to be able to use the firearm options because they're modern breech. The rifles are modern breech loader, and the pistols are broom handle Mauser semi-automatic, which would look out of place on the Mordheim board. You could bring in black powder weapons from other kits to use with these guys. Wargames Atlantic do a number of various other historical kits that you could pinch black powder weapons from to use with these guys. But as you say, you've got plenty of options here. You've got polearm, spears, two-handed sword, plenty of close combat melee weapons, as well as normal swords. These guys will give you plenty of options for a sort of Jade Empire warband. They will all be wearing unarmoured clothing. There aren't any options for chainmail or anything like that. But it does give you some means to put together a warband from that area of the Warhammer world. Now, there is a rumour that Wargames Atlantic are going to be bringing out a box or different couple of sets for the Warring States period of Chinese history. Not exactly sure when those are due out, but for anyone who's unsure of what the Warring States is, it's the Terracotta Warriors. So that'll give you an idea of what they'll look like, and you'll probably get options such as crossbow, normal bow, sword, polearm weapons, and those will definitely probably be the weapon options you'll get there. There may be others added on top of those, but that is the guarantee because that's what the weapons they were using in that period. Now if we move up and go to the Eastern Steppes, then Fireforge Games have a couple of options for you in that they have a cavalry and infantry set for Mongol warriors, which will work perfectly fine for the Eastern Steppes. If we look at the infantry box, no plastic kit. You get a variety of options here. You get the sort of the bow for your missile weapons, sword arms, and then spear options. There are some additional weapons here with the axe and mace you could use, and you get basically to build 4 miniatures from each sprue. Box will allow you to make 24 multi-part plastic figures. So it's a mount-wise, you're looking at the old Free Company box. You get more than enough to make more than one or two warbands with these guys. They also have a cavalry option for anyone wanting to bring in mounted options and use those rules, especially anyone wanting to go out into the wilderness. And you'll get options such as sword, spear, and obviously the bow, because these would have been horse archers. For commanders or heroes, they currently don't have a lot on offer. So you can use him as a mounted weapon, but there is no foot version of him. But he's still a nice model. Those are your options for that part of the world. If you look around at various other companies, there will be options for picking up metal miniatures, but for this particular video I'm just going to concentrate on plastics. We've looked at this area, we've looked at the steppes, and we're going to go over to the Southlands. Now, if you just look on the wiki page, the Old Land, Southlands is mysterious realm of Araby and the land of the dead. We're not going to look at the dead because that's sort of Khemri and that sort of, but we are going to look at alternatives you could use for humans in the Araby area of the world. So the desert area, and then we've got the sort of thick jungles. Now, if we go straight to Fireforge under historicals, medieval period, and then straight down to armies of Islam. And this gives us quite a few options here. These are the miniatures you would use for Saracens in the Crusades, and they make perfect alternatives for Araby. So if you look at the Berber infantry to start with, so you get a number of options here. You get your archers and you get your swordsmen. Fairly simple, fairly bog standard, easy to put together. Get a few head options in here, small shields. We've also got the sort of teardrop shield as well. So those will give you some nice options for your henchmen. They have one called the Black Guard. And these are your more heavily sort of armoured spearmen and sword. So if you just want to field some extra sort of armoured, tougher henchmen, and then this is the box set you want to go for. The box contains 24 multi-part plastic, so with four sprues inside each box. So these give you some good options there for some infantry. Now they do have some additional options here, such as the Arab archers, armoured archers, chainmail and scale mail options there, as well as armoured and unarmoured heads. These guys are in resin and they're on 12 to a box. But yeah, it's another option there to add for your henchmen. They also have heavy infantry, and again these will be resin, again 12 to a box. And then there is also some Sudanese infantry. And these are more lightly armoured with spear. And some archery options as well for missile troops. Again, those will be in resin with plastic spears. The only mounted option they have is the character, Saladin. You could use him as a commander, your hero, in your warband. If we go over to Perry Miniatures, go to their plastic ranges, go to box sets. Now, the core of what they have is sort of ACW and Napoleonic, but they do have some options in here. If we go to page 2 for fielding some troops from Arabi area. Scroll down a bit more, and here we go. So we have Sudanese infantry, Zulus we could quite happily field, and we've got Afghan tribesmen as well. So the Mahdists, let's bring that up much big. It's not very big. These will give you quite a few options. It's nice and big. So if we can look along here. So we've got a spear, we've got a sword, and we do have some black powder weapons here as well. Now, get out of that. So, can't see that very well, not very big. But there are some options in there from the, if I can go back so I can get bigger. I'm gonna say that I'm not 100% sure whether that black powder weapon is musket or a breech loader. So you may or may not be able to use it. Zulus, if you wanted to put together a warband from the jungles of the Southlands, these would be quite a good option. And those will give you quite good. You're not going to be able to use the weapons. I mean that is a Henry Martini breech loader. So you may or may not want to use that. One are the Afghan. Now they don't have any images of the actual miniatures apart from this chap here, but they are muskets, so they'll give you the black powder weapons. There will be sword and shield options. I suspect there will be also spear and two-handed weapon options. It contains 36 multi-parts, 4 warrior frames and 2 command frames as well. So there's more than enough miniatures to make more than one warband there. Also do a Afghan warrior set. And these will give you 40 miniatures. So you've got quite a few options on this one. There's plenty of close combat melee weapons, and you've got a choice of black powder weapons in there as well. So these will all be lightly armoured, so no, not much in the way of armour on the actual miniatures, but they'll make perfect henchmen for a warband from that area. And you could quite easily mix in some the Lord of the Rings miniatures that are similar to the sort of this area. If you wanted to get some hero type miniatures for them. Now, Warlord, as far as I'm aware, they've got Zulu. They do Zulu, and they do Murdists. So look at those. Well, they're the Perry ones anyway. Okay. In that case, the Zulu are probably the Perry ones as well. So that's pretty much your Southlands covered. I mean, you can quite with the Perry miniatures, you'll be able to mix and match with those. I don't think you might be able to mix and match the Wargame Atlantic to the Perrys, but I wouldn't 100% sure on that, because Perrys tend to be true scale, and I think Wargames Atlantic tend to be veering more towards the heroic scale of 28mm. So you may work to mix and match both manufacturers, but I would probably stick with, if you want to do kit bashing for Southlands, I'd probably go with the Perry miniatures and kit bash with the various Perry miniatures that are available. So we've had a look at the Southlands, Cathay, Nippon, and Eastern Steppes. We're now going to go and start concentrating on the old world. And we can start by looking at Thalia, Border Princess, Estalia, and the Empire itself, because a lot of the miniatures that can be used in all of these, you can mix and match. There's a lot of so rather than just go from each one of those individual areas and do the whole lot as a mass, because most of these you can mix and match with them to build your war bands, and there's a lot of options for this period. So we'll go back to the map and then we'll start having a look at what there is available. So we have the old world. I'm not going to look at the Badlands, but we are going to look at Border Princes, Thalia, Italia, Estalia, and the actual Empire itself. Because most of the images I'm going to be looking at now, you literally could use for any of these sort of areas. So we will start off with Warlord Games, and we're going to look at their Italian Wars range. And as you can probably spot already, Lanzknechts make great Empire alternatives. So we'll take a look in the Pikemen first. And this, you can see where Games Workshop took their sort of the ideas for the Empire from. I mean, it's definitely these guys. So in this box, Pikemen, you also get black powder weapons. and I've said before that when I was looking at the samurai, these types of weapons are probably not very practical for fighting in wartime. But they will, I mean, these troops will work with any of the regions we've talked about just now. But this is predominantly pike. So, the next box set they have are the missile. So this is all your black powder. You get 30 in a box, and you got options to make both crossbowmen and black powder. So up of these guys. So there's your crossbowmen, and you can see where GW got their influences from for all of the sort of empire and the areas around near the empire, the border princes and all that sort of thing. They work really well. And if anyone wanting to build a Warhammer Empire army, I would look no further than Warlord, to be fair. So, let's move to the next lot. So they have infantry with polearm and two-handed sword. And again, this box will give you 24 miniatures. Their polearm aren't very dynamic. They are pretty sort of bog standard to attention type poses. Posing for the two-handed swordmen are slightly better. What Warlord also has for this is these guys. So you might not want to bother picking up the plastic. You might want to pick up these. Most of these will be either in metal or resin. And those are quite some nice character models. And they have quite a few different options here. So, looting party and black powder. So a looting party would make quite a nice set for adding some interest to your warband. And then they've got some character miniatures that will work perfectly well. And these guys are probably better off. You're probably better off picking these up than the box of plastic, to be fair. They got some nice posing, and you more than enough for a warband. So they also do War of Religion range, which will also work for more time. The War of Religion. So these guys are pretty much similar to your Conquistadors and type troops, Border Reavers and stuff like that. So again, you've got a problem with the bit being pike. Whether you want to have okay with having pike, that's the only problem you have here. But you get black powder weapons. But you do have plenty of other options in the resin and metal ranges with these guys. So Warlord provide plenty of options for you. And these will work with Border Princes, Empire, Thalia, and as you can see, there's lots of options with these guys in this for these to cover that area of the old world. Now, Wargames Atlantic also do a Conquistador box as well. This set will build 24 miniatures, quite a few options. As a kit for doing more time, I think this is a better kit. You get a lot more options in there. You see you've got black powder weapons, two-handed sword, normal melee close combat, crossbows, drummer if you want him, spearmen, and these will make great henchmen. And they'll work quite well for all of those areas, especially Border Princes, I think. And these guys will be on the heroic scale side of 28mm. So you will be able to mix and match them with sort of Games Workshop miniatures. Now this is just showing you the different figures from their different ranges. So World War II, Roman and Dark Age period, and they'll all mix and match, so you could go pretty wild with some of the kit bash. So that the other options you have are Perry miniatures. Perry miniatures do quite a few sort of War of the Roses period and the 100 Years War. So you've got European mercenaries, and this will give you black powder weapons, crossbow, and then again pike. They also do mounted knights, so these will work with Empire knights. And they do foot knights. Now, you could also feel these could also work as Bretonnians. We'll look at Bretonnia in more detail in a minute. So as well as being fielded for any of the other sort of options in sort of Empire, Talia, Border Princesses, could equally use these. Now you won't be able to kit bash these ones with the Warlord or War Games Atlantic. Perry's are true scales, as I said before, whereas the others tend to be going towards the sort of heroic scale. So these are a lot slimmer in comparison. And they also have War of the Roses, and this will give you your archers, polearm individuals, and there's plenty of archers in there. In the box you get the ability to build 30 archers and 18 billmen, along with 4 armoured commander. So all hard plastic. So we're going to look at Bretonnians and what alternative options are available for that particular faction. I would say your best bet is Fireforge Games. I was beginning to look at now on the website. They've got a plethora of different unit options for your warbands, or if you fancy building an army. They're all in hard plastic. They have several different medieval options from around Europe. They have cavalry and infantry. And so it's a one-stop shop for anyone that wants to deal with a Bretonnian warband or a Bretonnian army, for that matter, for Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy. So let's take a look. So we're going to look at Bretonnia. And your best option is Fireforge Games. Fireforge Games does quite a large medieval range that will fit Bretonnians. If we look at Western armies, you've got quite a few options here. We've got Western Knights, so you've got cavalry options. You've got Foot Knights, Sergeants, Archers. Foot Knights are fairly traditional looking knights, European knights, kite shields, hand weapons, chainmail, helmets. And these will work well as your henchmen or more heroic members of your warband. Then got foot sergeants. Again, you get a variety of options here. You get kite shields, spear, sword, maces. So plenty of close combat melee weapons. And you also get options for crossbow as well. So you can field some missile troops from this box. And the other one is medieval archers. So using the longbow. Most of these are lightly armoured with helmets or unarmoured heads. You've quite a good few options here. All 3 of these boxes will make up suitable troops types for a warband. They also work well for if you were trying to build an army as well for Bretonnians. There are other options in this area in medieval period category from Fireforge. You've got military orders, which is your sort of Templar Knights and Teutonic Knights. You've got armies of Islam, which we looked at before, which you can use for Arabic period. You've got medieval Russians, Scandinavians, and Spanish. And in there you've got Russian infantry. and you've got cavalry options if you want mounted for getting out into the wilderness. These are all armoured, all wearing chainmail, with a variety of options of spears, bows, swords, and double-handed battle axes. And they make up quite a unique looking sort of Bretonnian force. And then you've got the Scandinavian, and that gives you infantry as well, and these are quite unique looking as well. They're kind of Viking-ish style troops, so you could use these for Chaos Norse troops as well, warband. And again, you get a few options. You get kite and round shield, spear, these great big like double-handed axe type weapons, bows, hand axes, sword. So quite a few options there, and like I said, they could double up. You could use those as a Chaos Norse band, Marauder warband as well. So Fireforge is probably your best place for Bretonnian style miniatures. They've got quite a few options there for you, and you could even build an army using the sets from this range. So the next areas we're going to look at are Bretonnia, and going further up, Norsca. There's quite a few options in this range, especially for the Norse. Anything basically Dark Age will work for Norsca, and anything medieval will work for Bretonnia. So let's go and take a close look at them. So for the Norse, there is a plethora of options. I'm just going to look at two companies, Victrix and Warlord, but there are plenty of others. You've got stuff from Gripping Beast, various other companies. Footsore do quite a nice range of metals you could pick up. But we'll just look at these for the time being to just to give you an idea of sort of options that are out there. So Victrix do both Saxon and Viking, and they do archers, Danes, Huskarls, which would work for both late Saxon and Anglo-Dane, and then a skirmish pack. So just look at the skirmish pack. This gives you 30 miniatures, 28mm hard plastic, a variety of weapon options with there, including armoured, unarmoured, and religious. So you've got some priests and amongst them. And this will give you quite a few options, this one box, for putting together a nice Chaos Norse warband. Victrix also do Vikings. We'll look at the Viking set. Their box set will do 60 miniatures for £42. I don't think you will need any others if you buy this one particular set. But it does have some nice options here. I mean, the guy here with the sort of bear, the skin of a bear over his helmet. Nice big array of troop types. So this one box, I mean, will do your Mordheim Warband. It'll also do your small force for a Norse Chaos Marauder army. Let's just look at the sprue, and as you can see from the sprue, it gives you quite a few options on here. You've got sword, hand axes, two-handed axes, spear. Miniatures come in lightly armed, armoured, unarmoured, chainmail, round shields, good array of hand axes, and you get a good selection of head types as well. So definitely a good one to look at is Victrix. Now you could pick up these from Victrix for your henchmen and your troop types, and then head over to Warlord Games to look at more character types, and they've got a good selection on there, a variety of different options for you. And I've just picked out a few of them. The Age of Arthur set, Hunt for the Holy Grail. These would make a nice sort of your heroes and commander for your warband. And again, we've got similar options with the Vikings here. And just quickly look at some of the for the last part, I'm going to look at Albion, a small island off the coast of Norska, which there are quite a few options you could actually field a warband for Albion. And then I'm just going to go around a few other bits and bobs that are out there which you could use if you wanted to in regards to building a warband and various parts of the Warhammer world. Just off the coast of Norska, there is an island called Albion. The idea, I think it's been based on a lot of sort of British, European mythology and history. I think the only miniature they made for Albion was this guy here, the Albion Priest, which I have one of these miniatures. So you could use him if you've got him. You could use him to build a warband around. But there are quite a few options of what types of miniatures you could use. Now, I would tend to go towards Celts, Dacians, things like that from the sort of ancient period. So we go to Warhammer Warlord. So if we go to Warlord Games, under Enemies of Rome in the Hail Caesar section, we'll get Dacian nobles, Dacian flaxmen, tribesmen of Germania, ancient Celts, and all these will work really well as troop types and henchmen and stuff like that for Albion. And so you've got quite a good choice here, depending on which particular style of sort of straight European Iron Age tribesmen you want to use. And most of them will give you quite a few weapon options in each of the boxes. So as you can see, they're very lightly armoured troops, quite dynamic posing, a variety of weapons. And on top of that, they do sell hero types in here as well. So we've got this Germanic chieftain here, would work well as a commander hero. You've got the Chiefs pack, and then your smaller packs of skirmers with Javelin, Fanatics, Archers. So you've got a good choice of troop types to use for Albion. You see, you could probably use him as a Norse worm leader as well, and he gives off a very Viking vibe, especially with the dogs that are either side of him. More sort of hero leader types miniatures. Now, so that's Albion. There's plenty of choice out there for Albion, and North Atlantic also have options as well for you. Yeah, so I've looked around at some of the plastics available in the historicals, and there's quite a few that can be used as alternatives for a variety of different areas from the Warhammer Old World for use in wartime. I mean, the best kit that was ever available for wartime was the Free Company, but it's no longer available. So you've got to look around for other options, and there are plenty within the historical market that will work well for wartime. And not only that, you've got metals and resins as well from a variety of different manufacturers that will also work. So you're not just limited to using what's currently available in the Age of Sigmar range. There are options out there in the historical market